What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to another great video of DJ Reacts. You know what it is. Always quality content. I hope you guys love it. Do me that favor, if you like the content, if it's vibing with you, smash that like, subscribe, and notification bell. That like gets the numbers ran up on the algorithm and gets this out there to more people. And the more people we can make aware of these things, the better it is for this community that we're all building together. And remember, none of you are alone. We're on this path together, all of us. Remember that. Also, as a disclaimer, don't believe anything that I say. Don't believe anything that you see on these videos. It's for entertainment purposes only, but always do your research. I will always preach that. Do your research. I've stated why all the time in every video, but once again, you might study something that other people haven't, and as a community we can come together and learn from each other, and say, hey, go check out this book, go check out these things, and we all come to our own conclusions because we're just an accumulation of our own perceptions and perspectives. So yeah, let's get into the content. Got some good stuff. Here we go.
What's really going on in this reality?
You can't handle the truth.
What is it?
Being human's a video game, bro. The science and the spirituality both align.
Okay, buddy.
What do you want? Do you want the gov to come out and say, hey guys, you're in a video game? It's not gonna happen. We have to do the research ourselves to find the truth.
All right, fine, let's get into it. What's the evidence then?
In Hindu philosophy, they refer to the world as Leela, which in Sanskrit means the divine play of God. And think thousands of years ago when they had like plays, live action plays, people still do that shit on Broadway sometimes, I guess. I mean, I'm not trying to talk shit. And think about how a dramatic play can be interpreted as a video game. They're just in different contexts. And also any religion that believes in an afterlife of any kind can be also interpreted as layers of a video game. So you could say that Christianity and Islam are describing the world as a video game, but just God's video game with specific rules. But Buddhism and Hinduism align with this too, because they both have their own take on a concept called samsara, or that we take rebirths until we alleviate our karma. Doesn't that kind of sound like respawning in a game on a specific level until you've completed it?
All right, now give me some science why we're in a video game.
Okay, we'll come back to some of that stuff, but some of the scientific evidence is, for example, number one, you've got Oxford philosopher Nick Bostrom. In 2003, he wrote a paper called Are You Living in a Computer Simulation? And he proposed the idea that one of these has to be true. Number one, all human-like civilizations in the universe go extinct before they develop the technological capacity to create simulated realities. Or, number two, if any civilizations do reach this phase of technological maturity, none of them will bother to run simulations. Or, number three, advanced civilizations would have the ability to create many, many simulations. And that means that there are far more simulated worlds than non-simulated worlds. And there can only be one base reality, and beyond that, everything is simulation. And the probability that we are in a simulated universe, or a video game, so to speak, is very, very high. So to sum that up, we either all become unalived before we can create lifelike simulations, or we decide to never make them even though we can, or we're in one right now. And you've seen plenty of famous physicists come out and say, we don't have a good argument against simulation theory. But to me, when you're saying the simulation theory, you're saying the video game theory. I'm not trying to say that we're all AI. That's not what I'm getting at.
Yikes. I don't like the idea that we're in a video game because it makes things seem less real.
What do you define as real? Because what we think is real often is not close to what reality actually is. It's more of a user interface. So it may feel like you're experiencing this reality, and I would say you relatively are. You really are experiencing it. Just like when you're playing a video game and you're really experiencing the video game. So saying that reality is a video game doesn't imply that the physical reality isn't a real experience, but rather it's just an aspect of experience, and there's more beyond it. Let's go a step even deeper. Think about this. If I put you into a video game, like a VR video game, you can recognize that there's a part of your awareness that knows that it's in a video game while it's playing, right? There's a part that's like, hey, I'm in a video game. Well, what if I found a way to numb that part of your awareness for a while? So let's say for 60 seconds. And what would reality be like in those 60 seconds? You wouldn't know where you came from or what's going on. Now think about your birth. You were born without being able to recall where you came from in that same exact way.
But if this is true, why is it so hard for humans to understand this truth?
Because that's part of how the game was programmed to be. And Donald Hoffman, who wrote the book The Case Against Reality, outlines this beautifully. He said that the world presented to us by our perceptions is nothing like reality. We have evolution to thank for this illusion, as it maximizes evolutionary fitness by driving truth to extinction. In other words, reality is not meant to show us the truth because the truth is not convenient to survival. It's as though it's hidden on purpose so that we actually survive in the game.
You know, this would actually be a cool video game design because it would make it exciting to figure out the truth while only a few other people know it.
We haven't even covered the different expansion packs yet, but you're totally right.
Okay, well, here's the big question. What does this mean for religion?
It doesn't mean religion is wrong per se, but we just have to take a different approach with it. Think about the different time periods and the metaphors that were available depending on the technological advancements of that civilization. For example, I remember Joseph Campbell talking about the Vedic texts, the Upanishads. He said Brahma sits on a lotus, the symbol of divine energy and divine grace. The lotus grows from the navel of Vishnu, who is the sleeping god, whose dream is the universe. Brahma opens his eyes and the world comes into being. Brahma closes his eyes and a world goes out of being. So if you call reality a dream, that's still valid. It's just a different metaphor for the same truth. In a dream, you numb the ability to remember where you came from in the same way I described with the VR headset. But here's another interesting part. You can learn in our reality to lucid dream, meaning you can remember where you came from outside the dream and have access to that memory. Well, maybe in our reality, some people can do the same thing. They remember before the human game, just like a lucid dream. Or during the game, they realize that they're gaming in the same way you can realize that you're dreaming, and that's what lucid dreaming is, right? Like you're awake in the dream, just like you could realize that you're playing a video game during the video game.
Interesting. This definitely could be possible, but what would the end of this life be like then?
So what do you guys think of that? I think he's spot on because I don't know if it's fortunate or unfortunate, but I was born remembering everything. Also, when I dream, I'm aware that I'm dreaming, but I didn't just stumble upon that, I was taught that. So, my mother actually, when I was 6 years old, started teaching me how to know when I'm dreaming and then how to take control of my dreams. And so, as I got older and, different women were in the bed with me, they would always make comments about how I'm just cracking up in my dreams. And it's because, I'll notice I'm dreaming and then I'm doing just whatever I want. I'm usually flying with a bunch of guns, battling people. It's almost like a video game. But there's other serious dreams too, to where I've actually dream walked. And what that is I've never been able to do it by myself, and there's not a whole lot that I know about it because I didn't do it that many times. But what happens is, so there's a guide that comes to me, and then that guide takes me out, my astral body, out, my consciousness, and takes me around, the ether, basically. Excuse me. But what happens is I can choose anybody at that moment who's asleep and dreaming, and I can choose to go into their unconscious mind. So while they're dreaming, I slip in under here with my guide. Like I said, I can't do it on my own. I've never been able to. But I slip in under here and I can go through their memories. And the first person I tried that on was somebody that was in the house with me. It was my mother. And it was strange because, I asked her about this yellow car she had in Germany, and but it was way before I was born, and we don't have any pictures of that car, nor has she told me about it. So I was asking how I knew about it, and I was explaining to her about this guide. And so yeah, I've done that a few times. It's not something that I've tried to keep doing. But yes, astral projection is pretty easy to do once you get used to it. I can do that very easily. Uh, but yeah, you when you know you're dreaming, it's very positive. And plus, you know, they have found computer code in the fabric of space time. So that was something that kind of, you know, tripped me up, being that that's the field that I'm in. So, but yeah, they can't disprove it yet. So, you know, we're definitely in a game. And our senses are definitely dumb. You know, I say that all the time. We can't see, we can only see like 3% of the entire light spectrum. You know, all of our senses are just translators. And they're bad translators because your consciousness and mind are everything. So, translator, you know, would be like my eyes are trying to translate what I see, but they're not very good eyes in comparison to certain creatures in the animal kingdom. You know, my nose is definitely not as good as, you know, my German Shepherd's nose. My tongue cannot taste molecules in the air like a snake can. You know, I don't have that part tied to my brain to where the taste of a molecule translates to something in my brain. We don't have that. So yeah, our senses are very dumb. But what's your opinion? Have you ever done any of that? Let me know if you've had. I'm interested in knowing. It's a very interesting topic.
What's something you thought was a conspiracy, but it actually turned out to be true? I'll go first. Artificial weather or weather modification. All of these clouds are manufactured. So in 1961, NASA built the Stennis Space Center. It sits in the wetlands of Mississippi. They started off by putting this massive speaker there that was going to play really loud white noise. The white noise was going to be so loud, it was going to be comparable or equivalent to a rocket launch. They then had trucks drive out around this perimeter to see what residents were living inside the perimeter. If they lived inside, they were advised to leave. It was going to be really loud. NASA told the people they would never hear silence again. Everybody decided to leave. Nobody wanted to stay for that. And NASA ended up with 125,000 empty acres of land so they could do whatever they wanted there. And for whatever strange reason, they even had to move cemeteries out of the area.
Because the noise they were planning on making would wake the dead. This sound you could possibly conceive. Now, the most amazing thing is that that cloud up there, which was generated by the engine, is just a mixture of hydrogen and oxygen. It's water vapor. And in about an hour's time, someone in Mississippi is going to get wet washing. It will actually rain. I told you. It's raining. That's unbelievable. Oh. NASA's playing God.
Those are my exact thoughts when I see things like that. NASA's playing God, and HARP is much worse about it. You know, I can't say for sure, but I know I wouldn't expect NASA to put a lot of bad things in these clouds, whereas HARP are putting lithium, iron. They're putting all of these, you know, titanium. They're putting all of these strange chemicals in their chemtrails, and you know, HARP can pretty much alter the weather. They can create earthquakes. You know, it's not just rain and wind. They can pretty much do anything aside from create their own lightning, but they can create enough clouds to create the environment to where lightning strive, and they do that a lot. So yeah, I don't like it. I think this is great when it's safe, you know. Do that to a region of the world that's been having a drought, you know, and the people can't eat. Absolutely a great thing, you know. But when you start doing it for nefarious reasons, then You know, you're just like all of the other pieces of shit out here.
You know, the James Webb Telescope has picked up on potential life outside of our solar system.
Potential life?
Potential life. So NASA announced potential signature of extraterrestrial life in the atmosphere of a planet that is 120 light years away. So the James Webb Telescope, they can pick up on molecules in space. There's a certain molecule, dimethyl sulfide. That molecule is only produced by living organisms on Earth. And they picked up this molecule from a planet that's 120 light years away.
I mean, there could be just like animal life in other parts of space, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I saw this one thing where they think that these giant sea-like creatures are living under the ice in these oceans on these planets.
dude, that'd be wild.
That would be
See, that's
a
what
barrier layer, like we have our atmosphere that protects us. That layer of ice could be protecting something underneath.
You guys ready? 12 new clouds are added. So, for the first time in more than 30 years, new clouds were added.
Perfect.
See what they look like. The first up, we have the polluted cloud. The new excessive cloud. This is when chemtrail planes move. It just leaves all of that mess. Then we have the asparagus cloud. Asperitis. So, also a supplementary cloud. Police said this one was their favorite. The fuck you cloud. If that shows up in my neighborhood, I'm gonna be afraid. I'm not gonna be excited. Look at the hole punch cloud. You see all these frequencies around it? I can't believe they're trying to explain this away. Okay, here's your Murus, the wall cloud. It's like the end of the world cloud. Oh my gosh, sun right here, my house. The Cuda, not cute. Let me see about this one.
Perfect.
Fluid. They're not even hiding it. This one's got the fluid. The come you run a bus. Like, come on, all of us. So funny. The flamingenitis. I can't. What? That came from the cloud machine. The flamingenitis. Oh my goodness. Who comes up with these? The cumulus congestus. Flamingenitis. This is disease. That one was coming out of an actual factory. It's called a homogenitis. Homogenitis. This one mutates human and comes straight out of the factory. Here's your exploration of it. Let me know that. Oh, I think I've seen this one before. Wait, this is a homomutatus? This one mutates human. It looks very familiar. It looks like chemtrails. Twisties. Homomutatus mutates humans. It's really thundering outside my house right now, like really, really loud. Clouds are outside. Anyway, we have the cataract agenitis. This one gives you cataracts from the Niagara Falls, it says, I guess. Cataractitis. Last one, the sylvangentitis. This one's got silver iodide in it. Lots of poison for us. Lots of poisons, everyone. Enjoy your day.
You know, the funniest part is she's laughing because she can't read. That's the most hilarious part of this video. Now, I fuck with her because she, you know, she's really looking at stuff. But, you know, just not too high on that IQ scale, you know. She can barely read. Then she's laughing at what she's reading, but that's not what it says at all. But to her, it's funny. So as long as you're having fun, love, have at it. But yeah, that's not what any of that said. But yeah, it should bother you that they're playing God, like the snow we had last week. You know, not even real snow, plastic in it. You know, I should have tried to burn some of it, but I didn't. But it did smell like ozone. I did take it and smell it, and it smelled, you know, like I said, at one time I was, understudy for electronic technician, and we're trained to smell ozone. We're trained to smell wire fires, and definitely smell.
Have you wondered why the world is just starting to battle over possession of the North Pole? In this case, fact is stranger than fiction. In 1577, with the help of the royal family of England, a mission to the North Pole revealed 4 islands. In the center of them was a giant whirlpool, and in the center of that whirlpool was a magnetic stone 33 miles in circumference. To further confirm this portal, in 1968, a government satellite sent back these pictures of the North Pole and the South Pole, with the North Pole obviously having a huge hole. Explorers also claim to have met 4-foot people, pygmies, which is where we get the story of elves living on the North Pole. This black stone is called Rupes nigra, or in English, black rock. Also, an independent filmer with a balloon got a shot of the North Pole, and look at this. Fits the description perfect of this portal vortex often talked about in history, and it also has something to do with the northern lights. And when people look at this area and the heat maps and signatures, and they see the wind blowing right past this huge thing, 33 miles wide, in the middle of the north. And if it is still hard for you to believe, consider this. You're looking at the top of Saturn, which its North Pole also has one of these vortexes, which is even extra interesting.
So one of the big things was, the North Pole of every planet that I've seen has that giant hole. Saturn definitely had it, because that's what NASA put the Cassini satellite into for its end of its voyage. The Cassini had been there for decades, and it made it to Saturn, and then there's a hexagonal shape at the top of Saturn, just like that, the North Pole, and dropped it in there for it to finally end, because it was on its last leg. And the same with many other planets, but NASA was photoshopping before Photoshop, as you all know. So even with Google Earth, with Antarctica, there used to be a massive hole, like enough, a bit bigger, a bit wider, I would say maybe 1.5 times as wide as would be needed for a 747 to completely fly straight into. That hole has been there for the longest, and when NASA started its Google Earth, when Google started its Google Earth project, that was on there, and then that's what Admiral Byrd flew into, and that's what all these people are trying to hide. That's one of the big things they're trying to hide, and NASA had to start photoshopping all of that stuff out, because it was found, and then people started talking about it, and then next thing you know, it's covered up like it's just white snow. So yeah, that's a huge deal, and it's true. I've personally seen it, and this is way before I even worked at NASA. So yeah, it's there, and it's in, I would say, every planet. It's there. They all have this, not just a hole, but it's a hexagon, specifically a hexagon, and so was ours. So I don't know what the relevance of the hexagon is, but it's there.
NASA's gonna love this. The first place I'm going, there are 12 different sites. You got a big tower out there, you got an arch, like the St. Louis Arch. But these structures are huge compared to ones on Earth. You got a thing that looks like a moon base. I don't know what that is, but let's go see. Some of the structures are so smooth, they're not made out of indigenous material of the moon. So what are they? Let's go find out. Do you know we have a society set up to preserve all the landing sites of the moon? Now you think about that. What if you owned the moon? You lived there. Did anybody bother asking you that? I have looked at some of the photos of the structures on the moon. I can't say conclusively what they are, but I will tell you this. They're like crop circles. They're real, and they definitely warrant serious looking at and returning to. The 12 sites that NASA told us not to go to. I'm going to all 12. We'll find out what's there. You haven't even explored 1/2% of the moon. You have no idea what's up there. I don't know if there's anybody on the moon or not. I have a gut suspicion there is. They'll tell you that when the moon got here, do you know it stopped only 22,000 miles away from Earth? That's geosynchronous orbit. And it's been moving 1.5 inches back every year. And now it's out 248,000 miles. Do you realize that moon was only 22,000 miles away? You'd step out back, talk about a full moon. The entire horizon to horizon would be covered by the moon. Now here's my question. A mass that big coming into the Earth, how does it stop? Because it should just slowly plow right into the Earth and just, be a mess. But it stopped. So how did it do that? Well, somebody probably turned the engines off. I don't know. But there's just so much with the moon going on with it that we can't explain things and it just doesn't make sense. And they just don't even bother talking about it. I had to ask him, I said, man, did you run anything strange up there? Anybody up there? And he didn't say no. He said, there's just all kinds of things that went on up there. And I was looking at his face, I'm going, man, something went on up there.
Sorry to interrupt, but this is Linda Moulton Howe, the journalist I was talking about in my last video. That is like one of the most well-respected journalists. She's been doing this for decades, and she has some of the top government officials and some of the top private government officials that come to her and tell her this information. And even the U.S. government has threatened her with duress in jail for not cooperating with them and giving them her clients. And then she's like, I'm not going to do that. That's the most important thing. That's my whole reputation. People know that they can come to me, they can tell me about things, and I will completely protect their anonymity, even if it means me being locked up. So props to her. Love this woman. She's a great person.
I have been told by a man who worked for the Defense Intelligence Agency for 23 years that the National Science Foundation of the United States has scientists that are meeting and collaborating with extraterrestrials in Antarctica in this deep underground installation. Something that one of the military people said to me. The walls had hieroglyphs, but the walls did not join with the ceiling. He said, we can only conclude that we are dealing with technology that is neutralizing gravity. Advanced beings could deliberately have isolated Antarctica under deep ice and snow like a partition from the rest of the world as a terraforming strategy to cohabit on Earth while ensuring that the alien base at the South Pole would be hidden deep under the ice of Antarctica. 9-acre rooms, whole walls, 40 feet high, completely covered with symbols, the exact same symbols that are carved in that basalt in Antarctica. They have seen photographs that we have taken on Mars, and they have seen photographs that have been taken on the moon, and they say all of the symbols match. We're not dealing at all with anything human. If there's all this ancient archaeology, quote unquote, under all this ice in Antarctica, could it be that Atlantis has been hiding under all this ice? The seal says, I am down 2 miles under the ice in Antarctica. We're looking at symbols and hieroglyphs that are carved 7 centimeters into pure black basalt rock. Symbols carved everywhere. 18 feet thick doors. He said, as you approach these doors, it's a technology we do not understand. He said they just would touch the door. Like the walls are reactive, the door would open.
Hope you guys enjoyed that. That's just a little bit, like I said, spoonful at a time. We've got a lot more that we're going to get into tomorrow, but I wanted to give you this and let it marinate, let it resonate, let your vibration sync up to what's going on here and really understand the truths here. If there's anybody that I would believe on things, it's her, and I would highly suggest you all do your research on her. She's got so much content. She's not one of these people like David Wilcox or Corey Good or somebody that you have to question. She's not a person you need to question. Like, her credentials, her status, her history all checks out, and trust me, I have done the research on her. So I'm giving that to you in just, little bits at a time to get you ready for what's coming. So, there's a lot of stuff in the world we can talk about, but I wanted to focus on this right now because they're trying to distract you with all these things, Texas, Germany, all of the stuff going on. But I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I appreciate all of you. Please comment. I love interacting with all of you. Comments have been great. You're all great. Shout out to everybody who's commented. And I even pin your comments, when we speak. The good comments, I pin them. You see that on my videos. So I will see you guys tomorrow on the next one.